Hey everybody, how we doing? We've got a special guest today. We've got Damien Athope, the sign guy from all of the conferences. How you doing, man? What's up?
Doing good. And I told you before, I've been really tired like the last week because I figured out finally, for years I've been trying, but finally I figured out the origin of the high God that eventually becomes Jesus in a sense. And it starts
Oh,
out as Father God, which is also interesting.
right. Hell yeah. Oh,
Which
that's
is
really cool.
fun as a funny part, I think, to that is, and the in a sense, wife of the Father God was the Mother God. I mean, duh, but it had to do with the moon and the earth, where the Father was the Son, in a sense.
Hmm.
And to me, what's really funny is it's like people worshipped the magical concept of a mommy and daddy, especially a mommy and daddy in the sky, and
Right.
and
That
I've
makes
heard
sense.
I've heard other atheists make jokes about this, but I mean, I'm not joking. This is an actual fact.
Like a sky daddy, like that they
Yeah,
say
correct.
the
It's
sky
well, it's
daddy.
called Sky Father, but yeah,
Right.
Sky
Well,
Daddy.
you know, that's too respectful sounding. That
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work.
there you
That's
go.
oh, that's funny.
And
Oh
like I
yeah.
was saying too, the one reason I am interested is beyond just being an atheist, is actually being an anarchist and being against hierarchy. And this is the origin of hierarchy deities, and in a sense, hierarchy for society as well, and also splitting of genders,
Hmm.
like starting to have separate gender thinking. So
Oh, right on. Yeah, yeah, that is I could see that. I mean, it's definitely been used for that, right? Over the years to
no, well,
like
yeah, well,
control
yeah,
genders and
it
stuff.
consistently. Well, it's traditional, right? Isn't that what they always say? It's traditional. Yeah, you're right. Your bigotry is about 12,000 years old. Nice for you.
Exactly. Well, I always think it's weird too that like in in like the Christian organized religion, it's like they put the guys like on the pedestal, like they're the ones with the power.
Right.
And it makes so much more sense to me like more like further back you go where they actually worshipped like womanhood and stuff. Like that makes so
Oh
much more
yeah.
sense, you
Oh yeah.
know?
Especially the further back you go. If you go back to 30,000, I think it's way more evident. The
Right.
moon calendar is the first calendar, not the sun. The sun is about 9, 10, so it's closer to agriculture. and
Hmm.
and the moon was hunting and gathering, because even Native Americans would say how many moons ago or whatever, because the moon has more relevance to a traveling person, especially if you travel at night to get out of the sun.
Right. Huh.
But
Oh,
anyway, so the point is that women were associated with that 100% by so the calendar is about 35,000, and there's some figure. It could be a man in a dress. I don't know. I'm not judging. But it also, and looks like it has a belly thing, so it could be. I don't obviously know, but it could be that it's pregnant and thus a woman. Certainly, in that same cave area in France, by 23,000, there is a fat woman holding a bullhorn with a whole bunch of notches that they say relates to um, the menstrual cycle. And
what is this from? Where like where did you get the image from?
it's from France. I can send you the image.
Oh,
You
okay.
can see it that way. You can see the image.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, it's like ancient France, you saying? Like they
Yeah, yeah, like it's 35,000 years ago.
Jesus. Holy shit. Wow, that's
So,
wild.
well, because and I think that the whole thing is that it's like traditional religion now, even though the one thing that's traditional is it changes, but other
Right.
than that, it does keep some of the core elements for thousands of years, because
Right.
it's stories, it's culture.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's a religion in gods, whatever, is all a cultural product that moved when cultures moved. And so, and
Hmm.
it adapted always. It constantly, changed, to everything. But if you listen to a lot of them, like, man, they start saying the same thing.
Hmm.
Did you see the picture I sent you?
Yeah. Oh no. Wait, where are we at? Oh, I don't have it pulled
Well,
up.
to show you the one I was talking about a woman holding the horn and stuff.
Oh, it'd have to be on my phone. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's on a different computer. I don't have it
Oh,
on
okay.
this one. Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's just like
Right.
an ancient drawing. Is that what it
Right.
is?
They're
Okay.
right. One is red ochre drawing. The other one is carved, I think, if I remember right. So they're
Huh.
different styles, but they're similar concepts.
Hmm.
At least it seems to me. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, there's burials are shaman wise and elite, some type of thing for men, and women had the religion in a sense, like two separate, like separate but equal in a sense. Like men ruled the tribe sort of, and women ruled the religion in a sense.
And what culture is that specifically?
I believe that it was Paleolithic, like the Graviton culture, which is the culture that was like 35,000 until about 20,000 maybe. And then from, well, I mean, it's a long time ago. It's all over.
Long fucking time ago. I don't know.
No, I do know.
No, I just
yeah. So no, it's too long to explain every single thing and show you. But I can show you a picture of the Graviton culture as well, and how it moved to Siberia. Because a lot of people say shamanism is birthed in Siberia. Well, after it went from Europe, then it was. That's true, but and it split off from Siberia and went to Europe. So the one thing people should know is that shit went all over the place because that is what people did.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was like, it was so odd to me when you would look at, you know, you like Hinduism and Buddhism and stuff like that, right? And then you got Stoicism, and it felt like for me, I was like, oh man, they like how do they come up with the same stuff, but like from a completely different culture? But they like ran
well,
into
actually,
each other.
those are actually related more than
like,
just mythologically or philosophically. They're also related through language. Those are both Proto-Indo-European related languages. So their religions go back to the Ukraine about 6,000 years ago. So it's not. Yeah, it's not a guess about that part.
Well, I guess it was one of the leaders, the one of the guys, he like met with some Hindus. Like he like went and but
I'm just saying,
interacted with them or whatever. And
yeah,
they taught him stuff, and then he brought it back. And then it was, yeah.
Well, and I also could have been passed through the Silk Road too. And certainly that was a big way that Buddhism spread in general.
Yeah. Because that was like a spin-off of Hinduism, right? Buddhism.
That's correct. And it's a spin-off of Hinduism. Yeah. Yeah. But it takes a different perspective. Although I don't agree with people that think it's not a religion. It's a religion. They say it's a philosophy. I'm like, yeah, it's a philosophy and a religion. Just like Greeks had both a philosophy and a religion, and so did Hindus, and so did, you know, a lot of ancient cultures. I mean, that's the same thing. Like when people think like separation of church and state, that's a new thing. Church and state was from the beginning of church, or no, the beginning of state, excuse me, not church. Church was way, in a sense, concept of religion was for that. But once the state happens about 5,000 years ago, it's run by a priest king, both in Samaria and in Egypt. So it's a religious head. The person, what's interesting too is that, especially from that time down, all the gods seem to favor kings, you know, because they're obviously not anarchists, because they absolutely love hierarchy and believe that actually that people that are minding their own business, that you go torture and kill, is totally justified because for some reason you need to expand.
Right. Yeah, and it's always them justifying their power too. Like, hey, God said it's, you know, God said it's cool that I have everything and y'all basically have nothing. You know, so.
God said that I can destroy you. I can you know, conquer you. Or they say it the other way. The reason you were able to be conquered is because God willed it.
Right.
Which that sounds like something you could say today. You know, not me, but people that believe religion, I could that same statement. But the funny is, even in China, their first, in a sense, kings or, you know, empires were based on the concept of, in a sense, the mandate of heaven, which was like the divine right of kings in Europe. That because the God willed it, that's why I can rule.
Right. Exactly. And that's a lot of time too. They'll say it's okay that they are rich and everything. Like a lot of, like the Russian Orthodox, like they always say that like God chose them to rule and stuff. It's like,
right. Well, and like I said, that's a con that the rulers have been using So I don't think religion started to be a con. I think it started because people misunderstood nature and science.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Taoist, so the person said Taoist called the Heavenly Father. Yeah, exactly. Well, Taoist and Confucianism promote Tan. And Tan is the sky god for China, which relates to Tangri, which is the god of Siberia and the Mongols and the Turks and the Huns. And and of course, and that's one of the things I've been working on too, is why I ended up understanding or figuring out more about how God started was I knew it was in China, and I saw stuff in the Middle East and saw stuff in Africa and in Europe, and I'm like, okay, and then stuff in the Americas. I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Where somebody is moving this around. Once you realize how it's like Sky Father, Earth, Mother, Sky Father, Earth Mother, and just list of cultures, it blows your mind. You're like, okay, wait a minute.
Well, it's like a uniquely human. It almost feels like it's like a uniquely human thing, where it's just sort of like, right? Yes. Like it's almost intrinsic or something.
Well, yeah, I remember. Totally, yeah, and also it's looking at. I try to say it to me. I think that religion started in wonder, but ended in closed-mindedness.
Yeah,
because at the beginning they were willing to change, adapt. Right, that's why there's so many different stuff, and they think there's a God and there's a volcano. Okay, volcano God, But they already had the concept of God. It's just that something happened. Oh, that he's talking to us, or we didn't have the right one. That's the right, So I see you get my point, but it's really still the same concept, especially when you listen to what they're saying. It's like if someone says, I just invented this music, and you're like, dude, that's rock and roll, or that's punk, or that's right?
Yeah,
you're like, well, I invented punk. Like, no, you didn't.
Right. Yeah, there's always influence. That's where it gets like really difficult for me, because like there's been, I feel like there, there's that whole like age-old conversation about whether or not Christmas is pagan or Christian or whatever, and it's just always like this earlier version of the story of some stuff, like it's like myths like that melded from this other culture that melded from this one.
Siberia probably, and then they have the reindeer. They live in the North Pole, and they also eat magic mushrooms that are red and white.
Oh, the Muscaria.
That's right. So you put all those together, and there's gets the and also I think it could relate to a deity, because the long beard is also a concept of an old deity. Because sometimes it's not Sky Father, it would be Sky Grandfather, and it's not Sky Mother, it's Sky Grandmother. Because like in the Native Americans, they have Grandmother Spider who spins a web in the sky and holds the sun or whatever. Something I can't remember exactly. But anyways, it's the spider in the sky. Well, Africa also has a spider in the sky that's a high god. So, but that goes with weaving. So that's a specific type of deity. But to me, just branched off this larger magical belief system in a sense.
Right. That's wild. Oh yeah, because I was gonna say like a Sky Kiddo just doesn't do like nobody.
Well, actually, no. Actually, the Sky Father certainly eventually has twins, which is also a mythology all over the world. The twins, like Cain and Abel, and often one of them kills the other one, like Cain and Abel, or they kill a cow instead, the sacred cow. You heard of that before, right? They kill the sacred cow instead.
right.
So, but it's the same thing. But those generally the two sons, or a son and a daughter, being a trinity with the father, the sky god, sun god. Like in other words, they saw the sun is like we see the sun. We the whole time it's up. We think that's the sun. That is absolutely not what they thought. They thought the morning sun and the evening sun and the noon sun were all three different deities.
Really? They just passed the ball to each other?
Because they thought the first one was generally a female. Eventually, it also became male. But eventually, first was female, and she gave birth in the morning. She's what gave birth to the noon sun. And then the noon sun would go away. But then the night sun, in a sense, is also a female, generally. More even than the morning. Because that one eats him, puts it in the belly, And then that's how, like in Egypt, how it gets out to the, come out the other side in a sense in the morning.
It's eaten. That's funny. That's wild. Holy shit.
Yeah, but also it goes back to the belief in the flat earth and the firmament, like in the Bible where it's over the sky. I mean, a lot of these myths are all related and actually spread out, including the Bible. Because even the Bible, because the flat earth relates to a thing called the Mound of Creation, which I know you may not know, but like a pyramid or a burial mound. Those are generally mounds of creation, replicas of creation, because the person's going back and they're going to get reborn into, the afterlife in a sense, born again.
Right.
So the afterlife, though, to me is a female run at first. And that's, like I said, the concept of where it can go in her belly and then the morning, burst out. But I think it also eventually became the morning could be his son, which was one of the twins, because then the other twin eventually became the moon, certainly by 5,000, because that goes into the Americas, and everything after that age of 5,000 start to have a male moon, where the female moon starts at least 35 or somewhere 30, and then doesn't change until maybe after 6 or whatever to a male. I'm talking about the deities, which is important to me because then I can see what they're doing. Like how, and this is what people don't grasp too, is a lot of religions also had dual homomorphic deities or intersex deities, where they would be in a sense both. And this even goes back to like the Ra, right? The sun god. Yeah, well, his eyeball, the eye of Ra, is also a goddess separate of him and can go do his eyeball. And
his eye is a woman?
What's that?
His eye is a little woman? There's a little woman in there?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's a snake, but it's a woman. The snake that goes around the sun. Have you ever seen it? It's like a red sun. There's a little snake around it. Anyways, that has to do with, in a sense, his eye, Ra's eye. Sometimes it does what he wants, and sometimes it's off doing its own thing as a female, which to me, this goes back to the concept of yin and yang, the male and the female. And these are the deities also, the male and the female. And then the deity, and even in yin and yang, right? There's a little round spot in the middle of the other color. Well, that's his eye. And his eye is not the same. It's the opposite deity. So it switches. And then Horus, like in the Egyptian religion, Horus is the other eye. So one eye is the eye of Ra. The other eye of the heaven is Horus, which relates to the moon. So the sun and the moon.
Interesting.
Which, like I showed you the thing too, there's a bunch of sun and moon gods. And yeah.
Where is it? So this is like what, like from anthropology and stuff like that? Is that where you get a lot of this from? Or like, how do you, where does this come from as far as like scholarship goes?
Okay,
like,
so I have been looking at the evolution of religion since 2006. And I have bought probably 10, 15, I don't know exactly, but like academic books on religion, like really hard ones, like humongous. In fact, I can't get it. But I have this huge book from it's the archaeology of religion and myth or ritual of Turkey, and it's it cost me, I think it was like $200 and something, but it's like 1,050 pages or something.
Really?
It's not even comfortable to hold. But anyway, so I read tons of that stuff. I read anthropology books. I read religion books. I have talked to academics. I have researched DNA. I've researched languages of all over the world. I have, done mythology of all over the world. Because to me, and all through time too, because how was I going to know what was true? And as I'm not a skeptic. I'm a rationalist. I have to build my ideas off of evidence.
Right.
And so because of that, I'm not okay with actually not knowing. I'm not okay with that. Like some people are like, well, we'll never know. And like, that doesn't sound like science to me. Science says there's something we don't know, something we should know. We should try to figure it out. And so we should look at all the resources that we have. And so I've done animal husbandry. I know where chickens come from China. I know that the bull comes from both China and from the domesticated and from the Middle East. I know it goes down to Egypt. I know it goes over to India, and those are the oldest ones, right? Then it spreads out from there, and it goes up to Ukraine and stuff, all from the Middle East, right? So, but when you travel, in other words, it wasn't enough for me just to look at the mythology, because the mythology, when did it happen? Just even if we could prove like they're all linked, the question would be, well, when did it happen? How did it transfer? Because it wasn't aliens, and it wasn't Graham Hancock that believes in an ancient, seafaring race of white people that, were Atlanteans, repopulated.
That's right.
Repopulated the world after the flood. That's all effing nonsense. But I wanted to know what really happened. How, and so instead of like some people say we can't know, they say this though, and they looked of what we do know. Go look up high gods. Someone listening, go look up supreme deities. Those words in the search. Go to the link and then read everything. See, I read the whole thing on Wikipedia, whole fucking thing. And if it says that this has to do with this, I go look at what's that culture, and I look what's their language and what's their DNA, and then what's their religion. Then I put the compiling of all of that, like say 50 different ones. Then you start to, now I'm seeing what's going on. But so how do I know? It's been extremely hard. I've read tons of articles. Like I said,
we said something about DNA. What about the DNA? What was that? You looked up the DNA.
Yeah, I looked up migrations. Like I started from Homo erectus, and I said, where did Homo erectus turn into humans? And I found out it was in North Africa about 3,000. No, I'm sorry, not 3,000.
Yeah, it was just 3,000 years ago.
300,000 years ago, excuse me. 300,000 years ago in North Africa. I even know the DNAs, the two male and female DNAs that were there.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I can trace them, the next movement from there, from North Africa, they go down to just south of them in the Golden Coast of Africa. And then from there, they go down to South Africa. And this is where it gets different. Like it's why it's hard to see the DNA, because the male and female split. What becomes all males is not follow the same path of what becomes all females. All males and females go from that place in the Golden Coast of Africa over to East Africa, right? The male does. But the female DNA that we are from, do you get my point? Like all humans are from.
What do you mean? Female, all females go one place and all males go somewhere else? What?
Well, because they start in Africa and they split, right? They become different lineages. One lineage that all humans relate to of a female goes down to South Africa. The male that we relate to didn't do that. It went to East Africa. The female first is in South Africa, and she goes up, meets him, whatever, in East Africa, and then goes into Europe and Middle East and everything.
Okay.
So, well, because it was confusing, because some people were like, well, we're from East Africa. Oh, no, we're from North Africa. Oh, we're from South Africa. Because you can find literal things that say every one of those, that humans are from South Africa. I can show you a thing. From Botswana specifically. But you're
talking ones, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. You're talking about like the evolutionary line, and
right, of humans. Yeah, humans DNA.
It's just odd to hear it say like the male splits off to somewhere else. It's like, wait a second.
Well,
within the set, the community, like how does that work? I'm so confused.
I can send you a thing to show you, but I have a whole video and blog and explaining it. But so. Actually,
here, tell us about your blog real quick. You plug your blog.
Well, yeah, my I don't have like a name for it. It's just DamienAthope.com, and then that's my website. And then I have tons of stuff on that and videos, and I have tons of blogs. I probably have 1,000 blogs. I don't know, but they're like super academic. So if people like light reading, you're probably never gonna like my stuff.
Right.
But if you actually want to know things, I have given everything salsa for free because I'm an anarchist. So it's part of my activism, actually, to financial, activism, and the fact that I want people to be free.
Right.
I want them to be, inspired. I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to be ready to change the world like I want to. And so I give it all for free. I've worked, like I said, since 2006, and I have tons and tons of stuff. Academics share my stuff, like my stuff, are impressed. Even if they disagree, they generally go, well, all that kind of looks good, but I don't know. Yeah, because it's so good, they can't say anything is wrong. They can give an opinion, I don't think. But they don't go, and here's the other thing, too, it's interesting about me. Because of being a rationalist, I only care about the truth. In fact, if you could debunk me right now, I would change right now. Because I don't need time to think about shit. If I see fucking truth, that's truth. I don't know how the fuck other people look at truth and go, yeah, I'm going to wait, or I'm going to keep my old beliefs. In fact, like I said, I just changed. But I had a belief for, 6 years or something, that male gods had been invented in the Balkans because that's what it looked like. I had no other artifacts. But now that I just recently finished serious research on trying to figure out what was happening, I now go, hey, that was wrong. That still is there, but that's not where it came from. And I know that because in the sense I see 8,000 years ago it in Ukraine and in Africa. Well, what's middle of that and has older stuff that looks like deities is the Middle East, is Turkey and North Iraq and Israel and those areas. This stuff happened there, which then makes sense. Well, it was agriculture, and I already had come to the conclusion that agriculture, religion was paganism, which to me is, in a sense, it has animism in it, it has totemism in it, it has shamanism in it, and then it has deities as a focus. That becomes paganism. It's kind of a nature worship sort of a thing that becomes all this stuff, and has ancestor worship. But that package goes out to the world, and then everyone ends up believing this. And today, look, what's even crazier today is they pick one of the deities, the younger one, and says that's the true one, Jesus. And you're like, yeah, seriously? How did fuck the 2,000-year-old dude or the 4,000 at the most for that specific deity relating to El? Because actually, the Bible even says that his name is El. It says the name. It says that I was known by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, meaning the God of the mountains, or the God of the high, or the high God, which literally is what Siberia calls all the supreme deities, high gods.
Wow, thank you, Ever. Holy shit. It's awesome. Yep, made it to 2K. It's crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Right on.
I was like, wow, that's wild. Thank you so much. Holy crap. So you've helped, so happy 2K. You've helped make a lot of bad days brighter. Oh, thank you. And put even more fun into the good ones. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to see you continue to grow. I really appreciate that. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I feel you're right there too, right? Like we were both like neck and neck on this. So you got to be right next to. You're right about to get there, 2K. But no, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Oh yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's really good to help each other. That's also one of the things that I did. The more I researched, I started out as a firebrand atheist, super fucking hardcore.
Oh yeah,
atheist, anti-religionist, fucking hated religion with a fucking passion. But I would say that an interesting thing happened to me. The more I researched, the more I got compassion. Because I started to realize, oh fuck, everyone's doing this shit.
Yeah,
and
they're victims. It's easy to be mistaken about stuff. Especially stuff like this. I try to just see the people as victims and not as like people,
exactly.
Bad people on purpose or anything. You know what I mean?
Yes, because do you know that I actually didn't become atheist until 35?
Oh wow, really?
But that's what made me angry. I just wasted half of my life for this utter bullshit. I felt bad because I'm intersex and genderqueer, and I felt bad my whole life, like I was wrong or something. And here, I'm not wrong. There's no such thing as religion. And even more interesting is there is religions that actually worship intersex people, and shamans are often, transgender or cross-dressers, especially in Siberia, or they were, I should say, maybe not now, but
oh wow.
But yeah, so it you start to realize, like I said, more I learn, I think learning in general, that's why I think that learning is our path to hope. The more we learn, that actually the more humble I get that, we just need to be kind. Because it's so easy to be angry. It's so easy to pick on people. But the more I learn, the more I just go, man, life's too fucking short to be mean. Fuck.
And it's not gonna get us anywhere. I think, we see how it's going on the right. Like they tend to just be really terrible to each other and make everybody really not want to be part of that community, I'd imagine anyway.
Exactly.
But because that's what it does. It just seems like it's like promoting a behavior where you're just like, I don't want to be around those people, So
exactly. And also as an atheist, right? So there's a lot of people that think that we're enlightened. Well, then I should act like I'm enlightened, right? More than just not have a fantasy, imaginary friend. Shouldn't my behavior demonstrate that I'm enlightened, that I care, that I'm worth, caring about because of my behavior is good?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Promote compassion and exactly. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, so I thought it was interesting that you would think that the more I read religion, the more I hate it because all this shit's just connected. But it actually made me realize, I want people to learn and change, but I also just care about people in general. So if then this goes back to, because people are always surprised that almost half of my followers are not atheists.
Oh, really?
And I go, you know why? Because of my style. My style is that I try to bring people in instead of call them out. My style is to, I've had people tell me, fuck off. And when I desire to, because I'm not saying I always do, but when I desire to really be of help, I actually had a person, I have a blog that explains it, the whole thing I said. But I basically, at the end, he goes like, oh, you're just a good person and you just have a different thinking. Totally changed from saying fuck off and this. And I said, well, why do I deserve to be told to be fuck off? Did I explain to me? Maybe I'm in an error. I need to understand.
Right.
And I think that also, it's like someone said before, you do street activism. That's no good. It doesn't do anything. I'm like, man, I've changed a lot of people, because a lot of times I feel like if they'll come running at me, especially street activism, they'll come at me. Oh, the gods are this. And I say, hey, why don't you calm down? Just explain it to me, because I don't really listen well when people are yelling.
Right. There you go. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Right.
Keep them chill, at least a little bit.
Well, and you know what? If you start asking questions like, well, what's a God? Have you ever thought about that? And they say, well, my God is Yahweh. Mm-hmm. Okay. But what is a God? God's a concept, right?
Right.
Right. So we get to the God's a concept. Okay. And so what do you know really about the God concept? Not some name that someone told you, but if it's a personal deity, shouldn't you offer personal experience? Why are you reading from a book?
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, or it's not a personal God. It's a book God. Okay. I get it. It's someone else's God. You were told. Oh, I get it.
You were told about, and then the feeling you matched up.
Well, I think when you do it in this sort of a way, it allows them to see it. Because I have counseling experience, and I know that you can mirror stuff. You can show people stuff as a mirror to where they see themselves, and you show people also a mirror against you, so they see your behavior, your thinking, and that changes how they. In other words, like there's a study that said that people generally fall in love with people that love them. I mean, sometimes they don't, but if you walk up to someone and say, "I love you," a few people will actually feel some weird feeling, because we're social emotional beings. That never changes. And so once I realize that that's generally that emotional that I'm fighting, not the belief, the emotions that are protecting the belief, or believe it needs to be protected. So I also have done where if someone's real hostile, instead of letting them be hostile, like, oh, listen, you don't listen, and atheists do this, and I go, okay, tell me what's your favorite thing about the God.
There you
Right?
go. Just get them talking about it.
My motto is that it gets them talking, because you know what? When they're talking about what's their favorite thing, they're not angry.
Right.
You know what also they generally feel? Heard.
Right.
And when people feel heard, they're more willing to listen.
Right. Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I think what you were saying earlier too about like people saying they love it. I almost feel like that's why a lot of people want to believe in a God, is because people have those emotional those needs. They have like those emotional needs to feel loved and stuff, and they don't get it from like, you know, their caretakers and stuff growing up, and so they have that void. And so believing that there's something out there that loves them, really they should be loving them. That's the void that they should be filling. Just based on, you know, like what's healthy, you know, for you. It shouldn't be dependent on anything else. You shouldn't need it coming from an external force. It should be you loving yourself. But that's what replaces that. You know what I mean? Is this God belief? Oh, God loves me, right? And that feels good. You know,
I completely agree. Yes, and I think that started 12,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think agriculture is a good explanation of the why. Because agriculture meant that, unlike hunting, where if the things are bad, you can just go to another place, agriculture was stuck in a place. Means now, for the first time, you really want to pray to somebody. My crops, I need rain, I need sun, or whatever. You start where hunting and gathering, it doesn't have that need.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I almost feel like that's why, you know, like when they say, like Bart Ehrman will talk about how like the Christians didn't actually get like killed by the Romans because they were Christians. They got killed by the Romans because they weren't worshiping the Roman gods. And that's because if there's any kind of famine or anything, all the Romans were like, well, it's these fucking assholes over here that aren't worshiping the gods right. Like, that's why we have a famine now. It's because they're not doing the stuff they're supposed to be doing, you know? And so, like, yes, take them out.
You know? Yes, and the bog people seem to demonstrate that cultures were killing elites, if probably the same reason.
Right.
You know, like they weren't able to achieve whatever religion they were supposed to do. They have the power from God, like in China, the mandate from heaven or the divine right of kings. But you're also supposed to actually achieve something. And if you don't, we'll just go ritually kill you. And what's interesting too is they overkilled the bog people like 3 times. They like strangled them, stabbed them, and something else, or hit them in the head, I think. Like some of the people. So it's a ritual thing. It's not actually about killing them 3 times. I think it has to do with, you know, relating to probably the Trinity, which I sent you one picture. It's like, you know, hello, it's like 30,000 years old, or 37 maybe even, like, because there's a cave in France that has a female pyramid vagina or whatever, and then one of the legs relates to a cat and one relates to a bull, but there's no head of a woman. And you would think a bull is probably male and the cat may also be male. And so to me, it's very interesting.
All cats are female. All cats are women. Guys, they're not necessarily female, but they're all women. God damn it.
well, I don't know. Could be 2 women and in a sense and a male, or it could be the woman and the male as a trinity, in a sense, as you were saying. Like I was saying, because eventually I do know it's a woman, you know, mother and a father. So it's the Trinity, but it's still in a sense this kind of a Trinity, or maybe that just shows that they're connected. I don't know, but there's certainly Trinity stuff. Göbekli Tepe has a few little plaques, and they're found at other places, and they also have a Trinity of them, of a snake, a bull, and a bird. Which China 7,000 years ago, the Hurmadu culture that eventually goes to Taiwan and then becomes all of Polynesia and New Zealand. Those people that were there had a sun spirit, a fertility female spirit, and a bird. So kind of like the Middle East, I feel, original deity probably was.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah. He says I have an atheist tattoo on both of my. That way,
oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's badass. I love
it.
I
did that because I felt like I wanted always to be able to do activism. So if even like and doing whatever, I just shake someone's hand, they might look at it and go, "Hey, what does that mean?" I go, "Oh, it means I'm an atheist."
And they run away scared.
No, actually, believe it or not, a lot of people want to talk about it. Yeah. It's not, well, I would say probably it depends on your attitude. If you seem like a dickhead, people don't like to talk to you as much. But
just period. Yeah, this at all.
but I don't. I try to be real opening because I am willing to change also. As a rationalist, I'm willing to change, like I said, on a moment's notice with no, because as how I feel for my beliefs, I have no skin in the game. That's how I feel. Yeah, I want them to be true. That's the game I have. I'm a truth addict. That's so. If you can show me they're not, I just move them and put something else there. Right. Well, okay. Cool.
Well, that's I think one of the things that's so funny because they're like, you know, you hear that line like, "Oh, it takes more faith to be an atheist," and all this. You know what I'm talking about? And it's just funny to me when people say that because I don't stake my whole life on like something being true. You know, if like the cosmological argument, like if it is some kind of designer thing or whatever, it turns out that some magical designer being or whatever, I'm like nothing changes in my life. Like I'm not, you know, I didn't decide, like my whole life isn't based around there not being a creator or whatever. Like their whole life is based around there being a creator, and then not only that, but it's a specific one. You know what I mean? So it's like,
oh yeah,
I don't care. You know what I mean?
Always very specific.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what I mean by that even is not even specific. Like, say, if you're a Christian, well, there's not just one kind of Christian. I always say to me, the most funny thing is not the atheist and Christian debate. It's the Christian and Christian debate. That's hilarious. Yeah, that shit is funny as fucking hell. Especially if you get like a presuppositionalist and an evidentialist and then a fideist, which one believes in only faith, one believes he thinks they has evidence. And then another one is talking about some philosophy nonsense argument, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just them. So the philosophers aren't coming to the same conclusion. And even a Christian philosopher doesn't actually defend Christian God. They defend like this ethereal something. So it's just the whole thing is it's a clown show. I always say to me, the God is a clown car coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is quite funny. And it's like you said, like that's a good question. Like, what do you think is a God? Because I feel like each person has like a different idea of what
they do. Ask people. Yeah. Holy shit. Actually, don't ever accept it. People say, well, you understand. I always go, no, I don't. No, I don't. What do you mean by God? Say, well, God, they always get mad. Well, God is a spiritual force. And I go, what's spiritual?
Right.
Hey, Apostate sisters. I know one of these days you'll have me on.
Hell yeah. We were all hanging out at Free Flow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I always go to the conventions actually not probably the same way other people do. I go to meet the people. I don't really care that much about elites or anything or people.
Oh, really? I go for the elites. Wait, what? Yeah. I don't know what we're talking about. What elites?
Well, I mean, what I mean is I don't go for anyone famous. That's not why I go. No one famous would ever make me want to go to a convention. It's actually going to meet the people that I like. That's it. So a lot of times I don't go to all the shows or whatever. I spend a lot of time in the lobby just talking to people because that's really what matters to me is the personal. I get way more benefit to me, enjoyment, whatever, out of doing that than just. And it puts it this way too. I'm not saying that the elites are not doing good things. They are. It's just.
But when you say elite, though, what do you mean? Like, what's an elite?
Well, put it this way: how many people are allowed to be at a convention? We have a lot of atheist conventions, but it's a lot of the same people, right? Often. There's nothing wrong with that, but conventions are set up for who's the most famous or whose people will come and see generally. In other words, it's not set up.
I didn't know what you meant. Okay, I see what you're saying. Like the famous people, right?
And I'm not using it in a negative context.
No, I just didn't know what you meant. That's why I was like, what? But you're talking about like the famous.
I feel like I'm friends with Aaron Ra. I have 2 videos with him. I have a video with me and Matt Dillahunty. I like him too. So and
yeah.
I like Seth Andrews. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with elite people, because I see them as leaders, and I'm a leader too. So there's nothing wrong with having lots of leaders. To me, as an anarchist, we all should be leaders.
That's right. God damn it. Oh yeah. Well, hey, Guitar Dog, thank you so much. Holy shit, that's awesome. Say, hey, Bradley. Hey, David. I follow you on Blue Sky. Love your posts. Hey, all right, that's awesome. I got
right on. Thank
Blue
you.
Sky. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was actually banned for. I thought it was 10 years, but that's just because it felt like it. I guess it was more like 5 years. It was more like 5 years. But I was really big on Facebook and then going to atheist conventions all the time. And then when Trump, came, and I said that I think voting for him, I think it was the second time, that voting for him is like, if you're Hispanic, is like Jews voting for Hitler. This guy is a fucking monster, and he fucking hates anyone not white. Yeah. How does people not fucking see this?
Yeah. So I mean, it's about right.
I don't have a moderate view. I think he's a fucking human garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, he's awful.
Yeah, he's the worst. Trash. And
I just can't believe we're here again. It's just a decade of this shit. Like, why the fuck? How is this still happening? Like, why? Why have we not gotten new politicians? Jesus.
Well, I feel like it goes back to hierarchy. As an anarchist, ending hierarchy, like if someone says that there's a quote I like that, I can't remember the whole quote, but it says something like, if you have anti, homophobia or anti-women or anti-immigrant or something, or racist, it's all anti-humanism in a sense. And that's how I see it too, is people are being anti-humanist. So that's also why I try to promote, even in anarchism, I promote anarcho-humanism, because I feel like I want to be an example, not, in other words, like, I don't believe in just going punching random people. I'd rather change people's minds. Right. And that doesn't mean I'm going to debate fascists. I'm not going to.
Right. There's limits to the, exactly.
But because I don't feel like they're ready to be gotten anyways. I mean, so they're not in the place to want to listen. And so.
Yeah.
But other people that are the majority of people, I don't think are absolute fucking trash. I believe in the people have, ability to be good and to do good things. I think society trains us to do otherwise. I don't think people were born with wanting leaders, wanting elite, wanting to be sexist. I don't think we're born this way. Born racist? No. You know what I'm saying? This is all extra horseshit. But I feel like it's all related to this hierarchy, the worshiping of things. I see everyone is valuable, the whole earth. Like, to me, I remember when I went down to Mexico and I lived in California, and I helped an orphanage down there. When I came back, I gave them food and stuff and hang out with the kids and stuff. And I came back, and one of my friends goes, "Man, we have people here. Why'd you go down to Mexico to help someone?" And I go, "Does that fucking border real? Not real. It's not, I can only help Americans because somebody else, not me, right? And decided that New Yorkers 3,000 miles away, I have to care about because of a line on the ground or in people's minds. And then people that are like 30 miles away in Mexico that are literally closer to me, my neighbors, I'm supposed to not give a fuck about, right? No, that don't work for me. It just doesn't. Fuck borders. They're pieces of garbage. They're toxic things that make other people suffer. This is just not the way we should be. Anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a lot of just seeking power and divide stuff, getting us all mad at each other so they can take the power and all that.
Yeah,
and
right.
They just
say they're better, and they're not. They're literally the and I don't think Democrats are like the great white hope either.
Oh my God! No,
they're garbage.
Have you seen them? Have you seen?
Well, and I think the problem is because they have to do what they really should do, is like Bernie is kind of doing, right? And AOC saying it's billionaires. I don't know. There shouldn't be a hard argument, but the problem: the Democrats have been billionaire donors or millionaire donors. That's the problem. They could be better people if they didn't care about money,
right? When both sides started playing that game, and I understand why the Democrats had to start playing it, because otherwise we'd be really fucked. Uh, because now they're both just getting billionaire dollars, and so but that's why both the Democrats and the Republicans sound so similar on so many issues, because
Well, yeah,
they're still
I
being
agree.
paid by the same people to say the same shit, but they just take a slightly different angle with it. And so it's just it's really frustrating, because it's like we don't have like a legit, other than like you said, like Bernie's pretty good, although he still sometimes says stuff where you're like, oh my fucking come on, Bernie. But like you
Yeah,
know,
I don't worship anybody, not even
right,
anarchists. I don't worship anyone, not even
right.
myself.
Exactly. No, but like, yeah, it's so I don't know. There are some good people, but we don't have like a true left party in America. Like we're just so skewed to the right that
But I believe,
anything left of right is left at this point, which is
well,
crazy.
yes, here's a fact: I do vote Democrat because,
Mhm.
fuck, what would I
Yeah,
want to have come in the office? The Republicans?
right. Exactly. I'll
Fuck
always
no. So
vote
people like,
Democrat.
I have some anarchists that get mad because they're like, you should know better. That doesn't do any good. I'm like, okay, you
No,
mean it doesn't bring mass change?
right.
Doing good is a different term, is a different arena. You can
Yeah.
do good. Even a Republican can do good. They usually don't. And so I never count on it, but it is possible.
It's possible. That's right. Anything can happen. It's Jesus. That's what I
But I'm
thought.
just saying a comment that also think that we allow others to decide how we're going to behave. And I just don't do that. I don't give
Yeah.
a fuck. I don't do this for the money. That's why I said I do it for free. So I have no obligation to give a shit what anybody thinks.
Right.
But I still am kind and treat people good. It had nothing to do with money, but
Right.
because I care. Because
Yeah.
and I feel like I said, it is my example to the world that my behavior, your character, is not something that just magically comes out of air. It is written in your behaviors and your thinking.
Right. Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
And
You
what I
got
also feel like when you do an anarchist and not a leadership mentality, you realize you're not powerless. You're not waiting for the one great, savior. You realize, that I don't need saving. I just need a fucking fair paycheck, fuckers.
right. Yeah. We just
Why
need
is
each
that
other.
too hard to ask?
Right. Exactly. It's like you just
Like,
need each other,
did you know that the minimum wage hasn't changed since 2009?
Jesus. Wow.
Right? What
Yeah,
the
that sounds
fuck?
about right, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's unethical as fuck. So tell me what year the Congress didn't raise their fucking salaries. It's fucking gross. It's picking on the poorest, the weakest. It's
Yeah. And without them, the whole whatever doesn't matter, whatever company that they work for or that they own or whatever, the whole thing would crumble if it weren't for those $15 an hour people. Yet they
although the
they take
minimum
home
wage
record
is seven
profits.
something. It's
Hmm?
not 15. The minimum wage is 750.
What really? Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not $15. Oh, hell no. Remember how they complained $15 in Seattle was going to bankrupt Seattle? I don't know. Last time I looked, Seattle is still going.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
We
me,
finally got in Florida, we finally got 15. It was like, and then, of course, everybody's like, oh, here we go. Everything's going to fall apart. McDonald's is going to get so expensive because we got to pay for those $15 an hour. It's like, Jesus Christ, y'all.
they never
Crazy.
think that, well, maybe, just maybe, the billionaire will get just a little bit less.
That's it. That's all
You know
it
what I'm
is.
saying?
But they're just, it's so funny. They're so expecting the billionaire to be the piece of shit that they're just like, they're never going to take the hit. We are. And so we got to get mad at each other because we just
That is
expect the
exactly what
billionaire to be a piece of shit. It's so
that's
weird,
good clarity, because that's exactly what's happening.
Mhm.
I never thought about it exactly that way, but I always said that I feel like people that are billionaires, 1%, they have a mental illness. Because just think, if I gave you right now $1 billion, would your next thought be, I need to get more?
Right? That's
Right?
weird.
What the fuck?
God, that killed me too, because they kept on saying that about Elon Musk. And like on the PBD podcast and shit, they would be like, oh, he's clearly not doing this for the money because he's a billionaire, so he doesn't need the money. And it's like, he didn't need the money like $400 billion ago or whatever. What are you talking about? Like, clearly him needing the money is not the thing that matters to him. Exactly. Obviously. It's like an illness, like you said. He's just trying to get so much. It's a number on a page that doesn't even mean anything anymore. Like,
well, I don't even think it's a number. I think it's about power and pride. It's about I am the best. I am the high god. I am the whatever. It's kings and masters and rulers. It's all the fucking abusers do this shit all the time. Fucking beat people so that they're weaker. Like, if you want to be you're tough, beating on your fucking small fucking spouse is some horseshit. Come and fuck with me, asshole.
There you go. Hell yeah. It is. You're right. It is a power thing.
It's a power thing. And what's really weird too is that you'll see like say men's ego. You know, they'll get really mad if a woman says something, but if a guy did the same thing or worse, they're like totally okay because I understand. Well, he's the big dog. Like, what?
Yeah. Right. Jesus. That's funny. Yo, you win capitalism. Now stop. Say, hell, I got $500 cash for my birthday, and I ended up tipping the pizza guy $100 just because I had more than I know what to do with at the moment. Isn't that funny how we do that? Like, poor people are just like, I will just spend money now, or I'll just hand. I have no idea. I never usually have this much extra money, so I'm just gonna like give bigger tips and stuff. I don't know.
but we should be able to. It's really disgusting that it's set up to the system where these disgusting billionaires just keep getting more, and yet people don't get out of like a treadmill of a life.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of sad.
And what's really crazy is they'll call stuff like Bernie is. They'll call him extreme. Like, he's a centrist to me. Extreme. I'm extreme.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's literally the center. I mean, according to like the world, you know what I mean? Like,
the world, the reality. Because I mean, what else are we looking at? And there's one person one time who was a communist, and he said, "Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's the thing." I said, "Well, because it would prove you wrong." Because he said that as a communist, he told me that something I posted was anti-communist, and I said, "Well, that was interesting because I'm an anarcho-communist, kind of." So, and I go, "Oh, you mean authoritarian communism?"
Right.
Well, I'm against that. I'm against authoritarian in general. So, whatever uses that word, I'm in a sense against.
Yeah, they equate dictatorship with communism, which is just so funny because it's like, but yet they're moving towards dictatorship with their Trump shit all the time, and yet it's so weird. It's like,
right. Well, and to me, it's explained not by a right and left thing, but a north and south thing. South is libertarian or anarchist, and north is authoritarian. So Hitler is a centrist, but he's up by the north more than Stalin is or Trump. So I mean.
Authoritarian, yeah.
But they're all authoritarian. Stalin authoritarian, Trump authoritarian, Hitler authoritarian. They're all authoritarians. That's because this reminds me when people go the horseshoe theory. Well, Damien, there's the horseshoe theory.
Oh, yeah.
You go left far enough, you end up with the right. You go right far enough, you end up left. I'm like,
yeah,
that is bullshit, fantasy land crap. No, the truth is you're not getting there's more than right or left.
Right.
There's authoritarian and anti-authoritarian. Right. I'm an anti-authoritarian. That's why, to me, but also communism is anti-authoritarian because if you go look it up on Wikipedia, it's a communist state, and the communist state is moneyless, stateless, and classless, which is, I don't know, anarchism.
Yeah. Like the good kind of anarchism, not like everybody Thunderdome shit. Yeah.
Well, but you get what I'm saying in a sense. Well, certainly the stateless, right? Stateless and classless, that's anti-hierarchy. So anti-hierarchy and anti-state, well, that's the two main things that make anarchism.
Right? Hell yeah.
Yeah. Go look up anti-authoritarian.
Right? Straight up.
Well, I'm just making a comment. So I understand these terms and what's happening. So to me, I have no problem with communism. I do have a problem with authoritarianism. So if you call authoritarianism communism also, well, it's still authoritarianism. But also when they say those are Marxist Leninists generally, or Maoists or whatever relating to Marxist Leninism, and they have the belief that you have to have the dictatorship of the proletariat. And what that is, in a sense, is you have to have supposedly all the enlightened minds. And I go, yeah, I'm not okay with that. No, the elites. I'm not. And also, I don't like the concept of that minds are better than other minds. Yeah. That we should class people this way. That's like saying, well, a painter is better than someone who is a farmer. You're like, well,
people are so used to that from America.
It's a nonsense kind of way of categorizing things, I feel, because there's a lot, even people that are mentally, disabled have some of the sweetest personalities. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm just saying, or they'll say or see things about the world that is, if we listened to how they're thinking, we may be able to see the world differently as well. I feel like we're stuck with it. Whatever I see, whatever I already know is the only thing I need to see or need to know, which is just nonsense.
Right. That's not the way anything works. Jeez. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for hanging out, dude. This is really fun.
Yeah.
Gotta get you back on, man.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. I enjoyed it. And anyone else, wants to do an interview, I'm open for it. I wasn't a long time ago, like about 4 years ago, because my mom died. And I couldn't stop crying for like 2 years, like every fucking day.
I'm sorry.
Fucking sucked for hours every fucking day. So I was not in a good emotional state to talk to people. Not that I wasn't still doing research and stuff, but like talking to people, I felt fucked up.
That's tough. It is. It takes a
grief is a hard thing, and it doesn't matter if you don't have a God. You still, or I don't believe in afterlives or anything. Still, I'm not going to see my mom anymore. It still brings up all my childhood abuse and my neglect and her religious fanaticism that she never stopped and almost disowned me for. I mean, a lot of shit came back on my life that I had, anyways. I just wanted to.
I know exactly. It's funny you saying that stuff. It's like exactly very similar experience I've had. But like I said, thank you, man, so much for hanging out. Hey, tell us where you get your blog, man. What's your blog?
DamienMarieAthope.com. And
right.
my blog is just in there. So it's my full name, Damien Marie Athope. And and my name is also one I chose, me and my wife, because when we got married, I said, you know what? I don't feel right with you. I'm like anti patriarchy, sexism bullshit. I don't like any of that crap. So I said, I don't feel it's right for you to take my name, my last name. And I certainly am not going to take your last name. I said, you know what? Why don't we just think of a name? And I said, you know what I feel like I want to give to the world is to be at hope.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. Where I want to live in. Just that I believe in things. I believe in people. I don't mean like in religion. I mean, I believe that people can be good. I believe that we can make a difference in the world. I believe that we can inspire others and, that we can bring change. I just have a lot of hope.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
So I chose At Hope. It's a place that I live at.
Oh, that's awesome. I really like that. That's really cool. Oh, yeah, man. Well, like I said, and thank y'all so much for watching.
Marie, someone spelled it. It's Marie, and then it's At Hope is A, and then it's THOPE, like At Hope.
Is that right? Right here?
Right.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right. Well, that's just awesome. Well, thank you so much. I will be back in a little bit. I'm gonna do a couple things, and then we're gonna cover this whole myth vision thing. And call it in line and all that, but all right, man.
I don't like I told you, I don't know. I'm willing to talk about it, but I don't know anything about the person. And
right. No, it's. I'm gonna react to like.
What I mean is I can't give a lot. I mean, you said something about agnostics. I have an opinion about agnosticism. Right. I see agnosticism as a position that's either positive or negative. In other words, there's agnostic theism, like somethingism. There's a religion in I think it's Iceland or something called somethingism or ichtheism or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a belief kind of, and they don't know, sort of almost reminds you of Great Spirit, right? It's a God, kind of.
Right. It's out there. Don't know what it is. Right? All right, Joe. Well, we'll take it easy. We'll see you. We'll see you in a little bit. All right.
All right.
All right. Take it easy, man.